In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast, we're going to talk about 3 prospects that are generating some first-round buzz. If not first round, top 40, but I would say first-round buzz. We're going to talk about DaRon Holmes, P.J. Hall, and Kwame Evans Jr., but I'm going to have James rank them 1 through 3, and he's going to give his thoughts, and I'll add mine into on why he likes them, why he's concerned on this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast your first listen of the day. We appreciate all the support. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe, like, share, help us grow the channel. I had a goal of 5,000 subscribers by January 1st, 2024. I think we just missed it by like 6 or something like that.
6, we can round it up.
But I got a crazier goal. I want 10,000 subscribers. 10,000, I'm shooting for the stars, which is, I don't think is unheard of. I want 10,000 subscribers by the NBA Draft. But yeah, I think we can get 10,000 subscribers by the NBA Draft. We got about 6 months to do it. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just go to prizepicks.com, Locked On NBA, use the code in all lowercase letters, LOCKEDON NBA, for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, like, share, subscribe, because we are your source for daily NBA draft content. We got big boards coming out. Check them out. James is going to release his first big board.
Yeah, in honor of my 39th birthday, I'm going to hit you with about 80 prospects. And
now you see how hard big boards are.
Man, look, this was a lot tougher than I ever thought it would be. Because it's just, especially in this draft, because like I have said plenty of times before, like 15 could go 45 in this draft. And it's like, a guy could get hot, a guy could cool off, and you start to see, okay, maybe he was only nice because it was the non-conference schedule, or maybe he got off to a slow start, or it's like, oh, who is this dude? And it's been very challenging, but it's also been a lot of fun too.
It is challenging. Because I'll be honest, I never did a big board. When I took over for Chad, obviously the website and the YouTube channel is called NBA Big Board. So I always did mock drafts. And for me, doing a mock draft was easier than a big board because
you can look at the roster, right?
At least for me, some people don't, but I would look at the roster and I would always factor in fit somehow because I'm big on fit. And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, if you're picking an NBA draft, it should be talent over fit, but I disagree with that to a certain extent because we've seen in this 2023 draft there are some guys that look better than others because the fit is better, and so I always try to factor in fit. I mean, like I'm a Blazers fan, and an example is right now it's early. Ant Simons and Scoot Henderson can't play together. They don't play well together. When they moved Scoot to the bench the last game, Simons had room to operate.
And he's handling the ball more. He's making plays. Yeah, I get it.
But the Blazers didn't make the wrong choice in Scoot. I'm not saying that by any means. But fit is important, and I think it factors in how well a player plays. So anyway, I always did mock drafts instead of big boards. But this year, to kind of challenge myself, and since the name of the website is NBA Big Board and the YouTube channel is NBABigBoard.com, Locked On NBA Big Board, I did a big board to start the season. I did my first 14 players in Big Board 2.0 that came out last week. And then right now I'm 50 players deep, but I'm going to go 100. I'm really challenging myself this year.
I'm going to get 100 for sure.
Which it's not as hard as it sounds because you get to about 50 and you're like, oh, this guy isn't on here. You get to 60 and it's like, dang, this guy could easily be in the 40s. So while this year's draft class isn't as hyped up as 2023 and doesn't have like the game changers and Victor, I think this draft class is really intriguing. So let's talk about 3 guys that I think they kind of have a wide range, and I think they can fall anywhere between that. You could even say 15 through 40 range, but it is DaRon Holmes, P.J. Hall, and Kwame Evans Jr. 3 different players, 3 different
Skill sets, 3 different situations. You have a senior, you got a junior, and then you have a freshman. You got upside and Evans, and then you got probably ready to come in and contribute now with the 2 other guys. So let's start off with DaRon Holmes. DaRon Holmes the second, man. Let's give DaRon Holmes the first his flowers, man.
That's true. I'm Rafael Barlowe the first, and my son is Rafael Barlowe the second. But, you know, I just call him Rafi.
Right.
He's only 18
DaRon
months.
Holmes the first is not in the draft, so.
So DaRon Holmes the second.
All right.
So I share my thoughts on DaRon. I liked him as a freshman. I thought, okay, if he would have came out after his freshman year, I thought he would have been selected. And then I thought he was good enough last year as a sophomore to be a first-round pick. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was ill during the pre-draft combine or something like that. And I think he wasn't 100% and he didn't dominate the way that I expected him to. And then he opted to come back to school. But this year he looks different. Like, he's moving different. I think his body looks different. His athleticism and pop is back to where it was after his freshman year. I feel like as a sophomore, he kind of put on too much weight. I mean, he's still bouncy. He's still a crazy athlete. But it wasn't that same pop and explosion he had his freshman year. And now, in year 3, hey, he could be, in this draft class, he could be a lottery pick, or at least mid-first round. What are your thoughts on DaRon Holmes, the second?
The second, look, all right. So I guess you could say big board spoiler. I have him 16 right now.
Okay.
And again, I don't see why he couldn't move up.
Of course. No, I mean, he's playing well. I think, what did he just have, like a 29 and 14 game against Duquesne? I think he had another big game against St. Louis. Like, he's turning it up.
33 and 12.
33 and 12, that
Duquesne, and then there was 29 and 14 against St. Louis.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to find flaws in his game right now because he's literally doing everything.
He's shooting the ball well.
He's shooting the ball. Look, 19 points, 7 rebounds. Well, most say 8. 2.5 assists. He can pass out of the post.
Yeah, sneaky good pass. That was like the skill set that really intrigued me his first year. I thought, like, he was raw, but I'm like, dang. His turnovers were high, but I'm like, he saw that cutter. He saw it. He just, you know, maybe it was a second too late, but and I like the fact that he was, as a freshman, making those passes. They may have led to turnovers, but he was taking the high risk, hitting the cutter. He wasn't playing it safe. So I
like, how that translate, do I foresee him getting a lot of, like, post touches in the NBA? Probably not, because that's just not maybe his strong suit as far as being a low block, you know, dominant guy. But if you
there's some flashes though. I've seen him play some bully ball and make some soft touch shots.
There'll be a time for it, but it won't be his go-to is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So you pair him with a point guard, and that point guard draws 2, or he hits DaRon Holmes on the short roll.
DaRon Holmes the second.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
He'll be able to hit guys in the corner. He'll be able to hit that dunker. So, like, him being a very good passer right now is, like, that is key because he does, like I said, he's just doing everything well right now. Again, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2 blocks. He's getting you, what is he shooting from 3? 44% from 3.
I know it's in the 40s, yeah.
That's crazy. Now, is that sustainable? We'll have to see, but he's improved over
I think so. Yeah,
he was 14% his freshman year, up to you'd even take 32% from 3 as a sophomore because, again, you know, I see bigs, centers. If you can get me low 30s, mid 30s, I'll take that.
Yeah, if you're just a threat to get the other big out the paint, it's very beneficial.
But you combine that with his athleticism, that makes
hold on. Did you see that backwards dunk he had a couple days ago?
No, did I see it? Explain it to me.
Anytime you dunk backwards in a game is impressive.
Quick question. Who's your favorite backward? Who's the first person that comes to mind that dunks him backwards?
Ramil Robinson.
How old are you, man?
I was a little kid, man. Ramil Robinson I think it was the NCAA championship game for Michigan as a point guard, drove baseline and just went up and dunked it backwards. So that was like probably the first backwards dunk I remember, and the most impressive because you consider his size, the game it was. It was either in the Final Four or the championship game. And at that time, I thought Ramil Robinson was going to be like a stud. But anyway.
My favorite, the first two people that come to mind that dunk backwards is Mason Plumlee.
Yep.
He'll bang on you. David Lee. David Lee used to catch the ball off a drop step
and dunk
backwards on people. But DaRon Holmes, like he's doing everything. And then let me run off a stat for you, Raf, for my advanced stat crowd people. All right, I'm gonna read these numbers to you.
The nerds are gonna like this one.
All right, let me push my glasses up for you real quick.
You don't even wear glasses, but I do.
I can see. All right, box plus minus greater than 6. Defensive rebound percentage greater than 20. Assist percentage greater than 10. Block percentage greater than 6. More than 40 dunks and more than 15 made threes. All right, these are the players in NCAA history, or I'll say recent NCAA history, with these stats. Keegan Murray, playing phenomenal basketball right now.
Top 5 pick.
Yes. Chet Holmgren.
Okay.
Top 5 pick.
He's pretty good.
White KG. Wendell Carter Jr. was he what, 8th, 9th?
I want to say 7th, maybe. I could be wrong.
He was a lottery pick, and we have DaRon Holmes the second. Now, if we replace that box plus minus with effective field goal percentage greater than 60, it's DaRon Holmes, Chet, Keegan Murray. He's checking all the boxes, man.
Yeah.
Pop guy, dunk guy, rim protector, like. Man, I might just reading these. Man, I might have to move him up from 16, man.
No, that's
it's
fair.
hard to argue.
Anytime you dunk backwards in the game, that
That's a boost, man.
Because it wasn't in like transition; it was in the half court.
That's that David Lee stuff.
All right, when we return, we're going to talk about PJ Hall, a senior that is having a phenomenal year, and he is stuffing the stat sheet for Clemson. He is getting some first-round buzz, but we haven't talked about him enough on the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast. So James is going to share his thoughts on PJ Hall. Before we get into the second segment, I want to talk to you about eBay Motors, because eBay Motors have teamed up with Locked On Fantasy Basketball guru Josh Lloyd to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long. So whether you're prepping for daily draft or scouting the waiver wire, every single week we're going to provide you with players that are guaranteed to fit your roster. So let's see who Josh has picked out for us in this week's eBay's Guaranteed Fit Fantasy Picks of the Week. The first player, G.G. Jackson. Now, if you're a longtime listener, you know I'm a big fan of G.G. And Memphis needs shot creation, and G.G. can do it. He has shown flashes, and he should be someone that managers can look to grab to see how Memphis deploys, because the Memphis Grizzlies need help. They need a lot of help because their roster has just been depleted by so many injuries. Another person to look at is Mason Plumlee. He's a new starter for at least 4 weeks with Ivica Zubac out. Plumlee can be a serviceable center for your fantasy team while we wait for Zubac to return. And then Aaron Nesmith. Nesmith's role should be a little bit more secure in Indiana with Bruce Brown gone, and his shooting and defense is important if you are a fantasy manager looking for those numbers. And then Marvin Bagley, who was traded to the Washington Wizards, and Daniel Gafford's in concussion protocol, and Bagley has a shot at nice minutes on a rebuilding team that is just looking for talent. So hopefully those picks help. And Josh Lloyd's Locked On Fantasy Basketball. The goal is to help you and your fantasy team win a championship, and eBay Motors knows all about a championship, because they know a championship team is all about each player being the perfect fit, and that is the same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts to choose from, you can make sure that your ride stays running smooth, whether you need brake kits, LED headlights, or roof rack, bumpers, whatever your car needs, eBay Motors has it. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, it's guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Plus, with these prices, you'll be very, very pleased that you chose eBay Motors. So keep your ride fresh and alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, let's talk about P.J. Hall.
All right.
Senior at Clemson, scoring.
All right.
He shot 39% from three last year. The numbers are down right now as of this moment because I think he had like a cold spell, but he's still above 33% from three, which is what we talked about in the last segment. He's blocking shots. He is stuffing the stat sheet, and I think he is one of the more NBA-ready prospects in this class. There may be some concerns about his upside. What's crazy is there's going to be somebody selected ahead of P.J. Hall in this year's draft that is not going to be a better player than him. They're going to be selected ahead of him based off the upside. But what are your thoughts on P.J. Hall?
So, I like P.J. Hall, and he is a better defender. He's a very good shot blocker, better defender than what it probably gets credit for. As far as just I guess you could say eye test. Maybe you want to look at his ethnicity and say, man, maybe he has limited whatever, but he moves his feet and he protects. He's more like a cerebral defender.
Yeah.
He's not out of position trying to block shots. He's not chasing blocks, but he does a good job protecting the rim.
He's not blocking shots way out of his area.
Exactly.
He's like this
phenomenal
bouncy athlete, but he's a good shot blocker.
But again, you value positional defense because ultimately, I don't care if you block 4 shots a game and you know what I'm saying, you give up X amount of layups on some Hassan Whiteside stuff. Are you playing for blocks or are we playing to get stops? So, but there is a lot to like about P.J. Hall. Again, he's also a good passer, big, strong frame. I think his biggest attribute that's going to carry over is obviously his ability to stretch the floor.
Yeah, I think there's several teams that could use a stretch big right now that can come in. He's a senior and he's had some experience, so I think that he can come in and help right away. But I do think there's some teams that could use a rotation big that can stretch the floor, play good team defense, and just be a solid role player. All right, if you had to pick, I'm putting you on the hot seat right here.
Shoot.
If you had to pick a team that you think would be a good fit, what team do you think could use P.J. Hall?
I mean, you brought it up in one of your tweets, but I feel like him and James Harden would be excellent. I mean, James Harden with any big is excellent, but that gives them a different look in LA because right now they have dunkers in Zubats, Tice, and Plumlee. Right now, I don't know if Tice is going to be there long term or whatever because I know he just got bought out of his deal in Indiana. But if you mix it up and you say, all right, PJ, you set that screen for James, and James gets downhill. Now you got a 5 that can stretch the floor. That looks like what Ryan Anderson used to do in Houston, Or I know he does kind of try to shoot threes. Jalen Williams that doesn't move. Is it Arkansas, Jalen Williams?
Yeah.
All right. So I think Oklahoma City would be a good spot for him because, again, you got to think you got Shea getting downhill. You got J-Dub, I don't like those names. The other Jalen Williams getting downhill. And Chet is doing a great job stretching the floor, but you can add another one to their big rotation. I think that would be great. I just feel like any team, any point guard is getting downhill. You get a 5 that can do more than just dunk, it opens up the floor for everything. And again, P.J. Hall is a good passer too, so it's he'll be able to, when they rotate, swing, and you hit that corner guy too.
See, I want Harden to have a vertical lob threat. I want him to have I'm a Harden fan.
I want him to have both.
I guess
Harden had Capella and he had Ryan Anderson. Maybe it wasn't that same year.
Yeah, but that wasn't MVP year though.
But at the same time, when Ryan Anderson set the screen for him and there was a switch, then you were in trouble. And Ryan Anderson was shooting 3. They told him to shoot 4 feet behind the line.
Yeah, but now I want Harden to have a vertical lob threat, like he had with Nick Claxton and Capella. But I got a perfect team.
All right.
For P.J. Hall, the Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay, because then you're saying Brook Lopez is 35, 36.
Just learn from Brook. I mean, he's not Brook on the block.
Or on defense, no. But this would be a good defender.
Space the floor, size, and if he can, be a somewhat of a rim protector or shot blocker in the NBA, I mean, I just think that it would be a perfect fit to give them some depth on the front court and another floor spacing big. So that would be my ideal fit for PJ Hall.
Okay, I can dig it.
Any concerns about his upside? That's always like the talk when you have a senior or someone with 4 years of experience.
I do have concerns about his upside, but ultimately, like, I have him, I believe, in the early 30s. So in the early 30s, I need guys who can play like right away. So we talked about
But that depends on the team, because sometimes the team in the early 30s is the team picking at the top, right?
That's true, but you can buy picks too.
Yep.
So if we're talking about Milwaukee, they're in win now mode for the next 7 years. As long Giannis is going to be making $80 million at the end of his deal. That's crazy.
And we ain't even seen the new TV contract come in yet. So.
$80 million. Look, that's shout out to Giannis. But they're always going to be in win now mode as long as he's on that team.
Because he gonna put the pressure on.
Exactly. Look, we got to win, and Tanash has got to have a job. That's what his whole. That's what Giannis is on. So Milwaukee's in win now mode. I feel like the Clippers. Look, you just built the new stadiums. Kawhi is just re-up. James Harden is due for a new contract.
PG too. They'll get all those guys.
All those guys are going to get paid, and then look, second round picks. Look, you need cheap contracts. So I feel like those are two good spots for him. And like again, upside is important, but at some point, upside's got to turn into something. And with a lot of guys, it is hard to project, but sometimes upside just remains upside.
Yep.
Potential remains permanent.
I agree. All right, in the next segment, we are going to talk about a guy that is all about upside. He's a pure upside pick, and it is Kwame Evans Jr. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into the last and final segment, let's talk about Prize Picks, because Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. It is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America and the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It is just you against the numbers. You're not playing against pros. You're not playing against sharks. It's just you versus the numbers. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players and decide if they will beat the projected numbers. For example, some of the picks I'm seeing: Steph Curry for more than 29 points and Nikola Jokic for more than 10 rebounds, or Anthony Davis for more than 2 blocks and Damian Lillard for more than 4 3-pointers made in the game. You could do combo projections. For example, again, LeBron James and Travis Kelce, they have a combos league where you can pick 2 or more players from 2 totally different leagues. The best example I can think of is LeBron James and Travis Kelce combination of 10.5, combining 3-pointers made and receptions. And then what makes Prize Picks stand out is that if your players get hurt, they have an insurance policy. Your players can get rebooted. If a guy gets hurt in the first half and doesn't return in the second half, he automatically gets rebooted. Prize Picks has quick withdrawals. You get your money fast. Gameplay is easy, and they have a ridiculous selection of players and stat types. And that is why Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. It has to be in lowercase, but prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Once again, Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All right, last segment, and I know this is a rank 'em, so I'm guessing
this is definitely number 3.
Okay, so I guess they're going in order.
Yeah.
Kwame Evans Jr. Like I mentioned, this is an upside pick. This is someone who I think his upside and his potential doesn't necessarily reflect his production right now, even though he's had some good moments. I know he had a 22-point game against USC where he had 5 steals. But if you're looking at the modern NBA and what teams want, you want versatile defenders. Kwame is what teams are looking for. If you look at his blocks per game and steals, it's like he's averaging over, is it like 1.5 blocks and 1.8 steals or something like that? He's stuffing the stat sheet on the defensive end. He's shown some flashes and some skill on the offensive end. He might be like your pick and pop guy. I do think there is a chance that down the line, he could be the best of the 3. Right now, no, he's behind those guys. But you're talking about a guy that may be able to pick and pop. He shows some flashes of shot making at Montverde, but he is a really good defender, shot blocker. Like I said, he's getting steals, potential pick and pop guy, good athlete. What are your thoughts on Kwame Evans Jr.?
I'm not as high on him as you are, man. I get it. 1.6 blocks or 1.6 steals, 1.4 blocks. Maybe it's the other way around. But I don't know what he's good at on offense, man. And he can't shoot, and he didn't shoot well at Montverde. And it's
what's he shooting from the foul line though?
What's he shooting from the foul line right now? The brother is shooting 82% from the foul line.
That's exactly why I think there's a chance that the shooting. I mean, he's young. He shoot 81% from the foul line. You have touch. And maybe in high school, he didn't shoot a lot of threes. He did have a game where he made some threes. So I think with the touch, that down the line, I think he is going to be able to space the floor.
What about his low release?
If you were 6'3", it would be an issue. But I think if you play with, for him, I don't think he's going to be like a stand in a corner wing. I think he's going to be like your pick and pop guy. So if you have a good point guard that can drag the defense out and manipulate it, I think he's going to be able to have time to let it fly. So I'm not too concerned about it. But for me, I do think the shooting numbers are going to improve. I mean, if you look at P.J. Hall and you look at DaRon, what they shot from three as freshmen, I think it's around the same range. So I definitely think that Kwame Evans Jr. is a high upside pick. And if you select him over one of those two guys, it is for the future of what you think he can be as opposed to what he is now.
Well, I get that, but 25% from three. He shot 24% from three at Montverde. I don't know what he does with the ball in his hands.
I think he can attack a closeout. I think he's agile enough to where straight line drive.
I get that, but again, I'm not closing out hard to him until he proves that he can make a shot.
Now.
So with DaRon Holmes, he is a vertical lob threat.
That's fair.
That's not what Kwame Evans is right now. Kwame Evans is a 4 because he can't shoot and he's kind of limited. He's limited off the dribble. So it's I get it. You say, well, he can shoot free throws, but like I always say, man, free throws are not the same thing as three-pointers. It's totally different rhythm, cadence, atmosphere, all of that stuff. So I get it, and maybe he does turn himself into a solid three-point shooter. I just don't know what he's good at right now today on offense. And what has he shown where you could be like, you know what? I see the vision. Okay, we talked about it on the previous episode. Malik Lewis, right? Malik Lewis is wild off the dribble. But there are flashes. If he makes 5 moves, 5 possessions off the dribble, 2 times you're going to be like, okay, I see what he was trying to do. I don't see that right now from Kwame Evans.
I do. So this is what I have on my notes from when he was in high school, and I've seen some of the flashes at Oregon. I got 6'9" wing, good positional size. He's long and rangy, left-handed, good coordination and agility. I put that he can handle and push the ball in the open court, which is something that we saw in high school. I think he's a good transition finisher. But the appeal is as a big wing shooter and defender. He finishes with both hands. He's one of those rare guys that is a right hand, left foot dunker in transition, even though he's a lefty.
Is he really a lefty then?
That's what he shoots with.
So he might be a fake lefty.
He's good on the glass. He can score off activity and hustle points. I think that there is upside and promise for him to be able to attack the rim in space as a straight line driver. My concerns were he's a good athlete. He'll probably be an average athlete by NBA standards. He is physically weak. He struggles with physicality. And if the outside shooting doesn't live up to the expectations, then that could definitely limit him. But one of the things that I put down, and this is probably what you're seeing, is I put he has great long-term potential. He just doesn't pop out on film.
That's what I'm saying. So, okay, we brought him up before. Dylan Mitchell is a terrible shooter, right? But he pops out on the film where you look at him and you're like, oh, okay. I see a 2-dribble pull-up. Yeah, he might have airballed it, but you know what? He had in his mind, he has the ability to do it.
He didn't last year, though. Last year, I think he took 5 jump shots.
He's taking shots now. He's not making them.
I did the numbers. I don't remember them, but it was he's taken 14 jump shots in a season and a half.
That's crazy.
That's and there was one stat, and I used to have it. It was a stat to where it said from AAU, the season prior to his senior year, to his senior year in high school, to his freshman year at Texas, it was like 12 attempted shots outside the paint.
That's wild. But now you see, look, I'm just saying, as far as popping out on your screen, on your TV, your laptop, Dylan Mitchell does that more than Kwame Evans.
Because he's a better athlete.
But it's not only that, it's just the mindset, it's the ability. It's not just him running and jumping. It's just like he'll jab and make a move. Whereas Kwame's just like, I'm going to shoot this open three, or they chase me off the line and like, I'm trying to get to the basket. I'm definitely not strong enough to do anything with it when I get there. It's just like a preference thing for me.
Gotcha. Let us know your thoughts. If you had to rank these three prospects, not based off of who can help your team today, but in the long term, in 5 years, how would you rank these prospects? DaRon Holmes II, P.J. Hall, or Kwame Evans Jr.? How would you rank them 1 through 3? Let us know. If you're on the YouTube channel, leave us a comment, share your thoughts. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can send me a message. You can tweet James. I'm Barlowe500 on Twitter. And James is Draft Junkie, Junky, James. Once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Rafael Barlowe with my brother James, and we are